Hi everyone, welcome to the first video in the subconscious series. There are going to be 4 of them, so stay tuned for all of them. Basically what this is going to be is a series about why our subconscious matters in our life, how it shows up in our relationships, how it shows up in our reactions, how it shows up in our emotions, how it shows up in the way that our life is created. And let me just give you a little backstory quick about how I came across the subconscious and shadow work. So basically, I had tried for extended periods of times, um, you know, journaling, manifestation work, law of attraction work, visualization, planning. How like they ask you to write down what you want to manifest every day, keeping a gratitude journal. And I have never found that anything really worked as well as I would have liked it to. And the reason behind that is what lies in your subconscious. And why that is basically because if you spend, say, 15 minutes of your day, even if it's twice a day, say, so 30 minutes of your day, um, really supercharging your energetic field, right, like heightening your vibration and getting into that mode of feeling your desires, right? That's only 15 or 30 minutes of the day. So what happens is you spend the rest of the day just kind of living your life, right? And when you do that, you're still vibrating continuously at a lower vibration. You're not, most of us at least, aren't vibrating at that high level that you want to be in order to manifest your desires. So it ends up maybe sort of showing up in your life, sort of manifesting, or it doesn't come at all. And that's because you really want to raise your vibration all of the time, right? You want to keep it at that high level all of the time, not just 15 minutes or half an hour a day. So, how do you end up achieving that? And that is through shadow work, that is through subconscious work, that is through basically decluttering what is in your body and what is in your soul so that you can vibrate at that high level. And then that's when most of the manifestation work, the law of attraction work, the visualization, the journaling comes in handy, is because it's basically a tool to um, really boost you along that path. But if you don't have the foundation for it, then you're going to end up having a really, really hard time achieving what you want to achieve in your life. So, this is why this series is going to be really important to your life, and I hope that you stay tuned for all 4 of the videos that I'm going to be doing. And yes, this is kind of like a precursor to Soul Expansion School. This is what I teach in Soul Expansion School, except it's a 3-month journey and it's much more comprehensive, but I'm going to give you really good information that you can start working on now. So I'd like to start this video out talking about our higher self, our lower self, and I'm going to spend more time next week talking about images that we create. But I really wanted to give you basically the lowdown on the higher self and the lower self. So what is our higher self? Our higher self is our, it's our intuition. It's our pure, unconditional love. It's all of the good feelings. It's expansive. It's basically our spiritual self, our godlike self. And we end up getting in touch with this through meditation, through, the manifestation tools that I have mentioned earlier, through doing tarot readings, through doing any type of intuitive work, but also this comes to life when we need it, right? If we're in a weird situation and we don't know what to do and then we end up hearing guidance, that is our higher self. And unfortunately, with the way that life is, it's more deeply hidden in ourselves than our lower self and our images are.
So if you could just imagine this, at our core, hidden deeply, is our higher self.
And then what sits on top of that is our lower self. And then what sits on top of that is our images, our idealized images that we have created. And again, I'll go over the images next week as the whole theme. But in order to bring our higher self forth, we have to minimize our images in our lower self because they happen to sit on top of it, right? So the less and less that our idealized images in our lower self become, the bigger and bigger our higher self can grow and expand and start to come forth. So, with that said, what is our lower self? Our lower self is the part of us that has not matured yet. It's our inner child. It's our immature self. It ends up like blaming life and other people. It doesn't take responsibility for itself. It always plays the victim. It chooses things like negativity, egotism, hatred. It makes up our faults and our weaknesses. And most importantly, we live in this place most of the time. And that's because of life circumstances, yes, of course, but also because of things that have happened to us in childhood. Like, for example, and I will be going more in depthly into this in later videos, the love, for example, that we probably didn't get that we really needed as a child. Not to say that your parents were bad or you had a bad childhood, but there's always something missing, and that's because that children are closer to that divine love. Like, they remember that divine love because they came, to life pretty recently, and before that, they were in a place of divine love with all the rest of the spirits until they came into the world, this imperfect world with parents that probably are not matured enough to have their higher self come forth. So now we're dealing with, parents that have their lower self and their idealized images at the forefront, who are also having inner child issues, raising another child. So it's not like anyone did anything wrong. It's just kind of how it is. But you can end up fixing this for yourself and for your future generations in your family, and really start raising your children differently if you can bring your higher self forth to begin with. So, anyways, we end up living with our lower selves most of the time, and a lot of the subconscious beliefs, the limiting behaviors all stem within the lower self. The problem with that is it doesn't like to reveal what is within it, what limiting beliefs that you may have. So, for example, you may have a lot of financial issues, or you may have a lot of relationship issues. And even if you do some of this work, to really find out what is stored within your lower self, what ends up happening is it doesn't want to tell you. So you have to work really, really hard to get the messages that are within it. It's kind of like it's a game, right? You really have to not trick it, but you really have to like coax it to let stuff out, and that is because it doesn't want to go away, right? This is again the very stubborn, negative part of ourself, and it wants to be at the forefront. It doesn't want your higher self to come forward, and that's where a lot of psychology comes into play as well. Is we tend to like the negative part of ourselves, even if it is subconscious. So this work is a lot. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of balls, basically, to do this work. It's like you versus you almost. And not like it's a negative thing. It's just that you have to heal this lower self, this inner child, so that your higher self can really step forth, and you can really achieve after that at least more of the life that you would like, because this is a lifelong process, because we are imperfect beings. So it ends up, being this process, but you can start to get rid of some of the beliefs. And that's why I like to use flower essences along with this type of work, because um, they give you that like extra boost to finding out what lies within your lower self, your inner child, because they work to restore your purest essence. So if you start to take essences while you do this work, a lot of this stuff is going to come up, right, automatically, and you're going to have to start questioning, why do I feel like this? What circumstances have I experienced as a child that are similar to my circumstances now? And you start to put all these pieces together, and it's really like you're almost like a detective in your own mind. Um, Within all of these three layers of yourself, we're very complex creatures, and that's why, again, shadow work is so important and also really, really interesting, and it can be very frustrating. And what the hardest part is really facing those negative and dark emotions that we don't allow ourselves to experience, and that's because we have fear, right? There's a lot of fear that is within us concerning all of this stuff. So I'll talk about our emotions in probably video 3, I believe, but I just wanted to start to kind of set you up for the foundation of what shadow work is and how to really accomplish those beginning phases, those beginning steps of ridding yourself of what's in your lower self. So really the next couple of steps with this would be is trying to bring yourself into a place where you can assume full responsibility for your life. Stop placing blame on outside circumstances, on your job, on your parents, and just really finding that place of self responsibility for your life, and that we create our own life, and start to question everything. Why do I have this habit? Why does this pattern start showing up? Like, why does it keep repeating in our life? So, for example, like for finances, why do I keep spending money as quickly as I get it? Why do I not allow myself to make more money? What is blocking me within myself? Um, and your body has all of the answers. So, how you can really go about questioning that is spending 5 to 10 minutes every day just silencing your mind, like practice that silence. So instead of like guided meditations, for example, you would just stay simply quiet. And why that is because when you silence your mind, your lower self can come forth and begin to speak, because that's where it is. It's deep. It's really deep in the subconscious. You have to quiet your mind in order to access that. And you can pray to your spirit guides, to your angels, to your ancestors to help you reveal the messages. And another thing that I do also along with this work is I tend to pray for situations to be revealed to me so that I can find out more about what's in my subconscious. So it's basically like you're praying for things to go negatively in your life so that you can have a reaction, and then you can start to question it. And it works, and it's a freaking roller coaster ride, but it's fun. And also, one more thing I'd like to mention is you can kind of see how far you are along this journey by how happy or unhappy you are within your life. So if you could like think of all the certain areas of your life, friendships, family, finances, romantic relationships, your career, your success, your health, and kind of rate those on a scale of 1 to 10. And if some of them are lower, oh, another thing too is time, right? How much time that we have. So if you like rate those on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're not happy in all of those areas of your life, you still have work to do. There's still something that lies within you that is energetically blocking you from advancing forward, no matter how much you try new things, no matter how much you try and change your approach. These patterns keep happening, and eventually they'll stop happening if you do this work. You realize what the lesson is behind it, you realize what the belief was, the trauma was within yourself, within your inner child. You bring it up to the surface, you heal it, and that's when you're able to start to release these negatively vibrating things within yourself and start to vibrate at a higher level all of the time. And again, like, this work is not easy. You basically have to confront yourself, be truly honest, and really take a good look at our dark traits, our demons, our childhood, our ego. And it's scary, right? There's a lot of fear that lies within this work. There's a lot of fear that lies within the lower self, within our inner child. And this is why I really created Soul Expansion School, is so that we can do it as a community and all go through it together. And I put myself through this school twice a year too. It's not like I'm not doing the work and I still have stuff to work on, but it's something special. Your life does change after this. And I am really, really proud of Soul Expansion School. So I do hope that you take a look at that. And if you really do want to delve deeply into this work and you like it after the fourth video, then I really suggest joining me in the fall for the next round of Soul Expansion School. But next week, I'm going to go more in depth into our idealized images, what exactly those are, how they are created. And then the following week, I'm going to go over our false needs versus our real needs, because a lot of the times we look to our partners, to our friends, and to our outside circumstances for a lot of things that we feel like we need, but really it's something that we have to change internally. And then finally, I'll end with, for the fourth video, how important our emotions are, and really how detrimental it is to ourselves to not allow ourselves to feel all of them, including the negative ones, which we tend to avoid. So I hope you enjoyed this first little video in this series, and I will see you guys next week for the next installment.